All right, y'all, back with the part 3 video. As y'all can see at the top of the screen, it's 4:51 a.m. So my shift is almost over. And also at the top of the screen in the upper right hand corner, you can see that my battery's on 20%. So as I told you guys, I believe it was in not the last video, the one before the last one, or the one before that. One of these recent videos, I told you guys that I'm having an issue with charging my phone. Not really sure what's going on. I don't know if I need a new charger or what's going on, but it takes forever to charge. And it's just one of those things, you know? So I put it to charge before I decided to continue making this part 3, I guess you could say series. At this point, we're at part 3. So you could almost say this is like a series now of videos. But this is part 3 and I don't have much charge, which in a way I'm looking at that as an advantage, because that's going to force me Hear the gang stalking. Mind your business and go about your daily life. It's so irritating. You don't have to listen. I wish you would stop, really. It's like backwardness. I don't understand. If you don't like hearing the videos, why are you listening? Stop listening, duh. And then me responding like that would be me being a bitch. Stop listening. It's simple. That's what I want. That's why I'm keep making the videos. Anyways, because they're trying to get a wrathful response, and I'm biting the bait. Anyway, I'm looking at the charge. The low charge is an advantage, y'all. I'm not even meaning to come into the video like this. You know, I like to do these intros. When I make these videos, excuse me, typically I like to do an introduction, like telling y'all to check out the links in the comment section, the description box. I give you my name, etc., etc. But since I literally just made the part 2 video, you know, I understand that the part 1 video was made 9 months ago. So that's why with the part 2 video, the last video I made, you heard me do that little intro I do at the beginning of my videos. But this part 3 video is being made directly after the part 2 video. So I don't feel like I need to sit here and redundantly repeat that intro that I always do. If you're new to my channel, please don't start here. This is a part 3 video to a 3-part video I created. And then also too, there are a lot of other videos you need to check out before you check out my newer videos. So please, if you're new to my channel and somehow have stumbled across my page with this video, please check out the links in the description box and comment section. In both of those locations, you'll find an identical set of links that link to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that link to videos that share information about the targeted individual program, as well as information about the tactics used in the targeted individual program. And a plethora of other stuff, y'all. I've just put together like a comprehensive set of links with info about this program and my experience in it. So check out my other videos, y'all. Don't start here if you're new. Name Sharifa, poetry name New Lily. Welcome if you're new. Don't start here. Anyway, y'all, continuing on. I'm trying to hurry up, you know. So like I was just saying before I was rudely interrupted with the noise campaign. Hopefully the video picked up on it. I'm at 19%. So this is in a way an advantage to me because it's going to force me to make a shorter video, which I'm trying to do, but I have like 4 things I need to talk about, and it's kind of like things that I need to go in depth about. But if I make this like a part by part video, in other words, if I have to create another clip, remember what I told you guys in the last video, whenever I merge clips together, the screen goes black, and so you won't be able to see my screen, and then I won't be able to show you what I saw at the basketball court today when I went to shoot hoops. If that does happen though, if for whatever reason the video goes too long and my charger's running low and I do have to do multiple clips, then I'll just do what I said I was going to do in the last video, and I'll just post what I saw at the basketball court on my YouTube timeline, and I'll just title it "Gang Stalking at the Basketball Court Today" or something like that. Anyways, y'all, let me hop over to my text messages so I can look at my notes and see everything I need to talk about. Okay, so there's several things I need to talk about. The first thing I'm going to address is, it says, dude, I saw at Costulus. I know to you that looks like jargon, but Costulus is a store here on island. And I'm just talking about it's this guy that I saw at Costulus today that I actually work with. I don't work with him as in him and I have the same shift, thank the Most High. But it has happened where I've had to come in and relieve him. Remember, I'm doing security at the moment, y'all. Remember, I told y'all I work the night shift. He sometimes works the shift right before me. So there have been a few times where I've had to come in and relieve him. And so in those little brief moments where that brief interaction happens, my brain ticks like crazy, y'all. And the reason is I didn't instantly recognize who he was because I don't know him like that. I know his brother. And moreover, I know his cousin. So I walked in, and really what made me recognize who he was that I looked on the sign-in sheet. Remember, well, you don't know this, but with this security job, we don't have like a clock-in system, so we sign in. We have a sign-in sheet. And I remember seeing the name, and specifically the last name stood out to me, but the full name. Remember, I told you all my memory is like an elephant. So I don't even have to have known you personally. It could be a relative of yours that I knew and somehow learned who you were, whatever the case was. My memory is like an elephant. I remember faces and names. I don't even have to have really known you like that. And so what it is, and this guy is significantly younger than me. I believe he's like in the range of, maybe my younger brother's ages, maybe a little bit older, something like that, early, mid-20s, that type of thing. But the reason I know who he is because of his brother. So, here's the story. And it's the reason I'm feeling hesitant about this, y'all, is because it ties to the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation. And the reason I never addressed it was because I already got so much backlash for that situation. And they also like to run with things and create things too. And this is not going to look good, this situation here that I have to talk about, but it really happened. And it's something that I'm going to address, right? They're already revving up in the road. They are looking for anything. I'm telling you, they're always ready to rev up and create stuff. I'm telling you. So if I'm giving them ammo, it's the worst thing ever. But the situation already happened, right? Now look, somebody flying in here with a van. I don't know if that's somebody that's just coming, because people do start to come in. In all actuality, people do start to come in at this hour of the morning. They really do. People work here and they do start coming in at this hour. But you have to understand, I'm so sensitized to people speeding up on me and speeding by me and doing crazy things that even when people are doing regular everyday things, I'm like, on edge thinking it's a gang stalker. Anyway, give me a minute, y'all, because somebody just pulled up. I think they probably work here. People do start coming in at this hour. But I told you guys in prior videos that I feel weird whenever, it's like, everybody's watching you. But when somebody pulls up right next to you, even if they're just coming out to go into a store or wherever they're going, you still feel uncomfortable. And then, of course, they're making the bird drones go off too to create more of an awkward environment for me. So give me a minute, y'all. I told y'all I can't pause these things. So I'm going to just hold on a minute. You're going to hear me eating Skittles, y'all. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and just continue. Another one of the workers are coming in, but this is what happens at this hour. They start coming in. Remember, I'm working at the shopping center. I'm doing security. So people do work here. And they come in around this time. Anyways, so with this situation, y'all, with the cousin, and it's the brother, by the way, not the one that I work with, his older brothers, who I have not anything with really, but something happened. And it's literally just luck. I keep telling y'all, my luck ain't shit. Like, if there's such a thing called luck, I have none, right? You will not believe this story when I tell you it, right? So back around the time when the thing first popped off, I want to say a couple years after. So this was after I had become the blackout drunk and all these crazy things happened to me. Remember, I told you just in the last clip, I had 3 years of alcoholism. 2 years where I was a blackout drunk. I even got raped. And a third year where I was a functioning alcoholic. Towards the end stint of my blackout drunken years, and more so the beginning year or stint of me becoming a functioning alcoholic, that third year where I was getting myself together, I was in the height of the cyberstalking, cyberbullying. So at that point, it had been a couple years of me dealing with it and realizing that I couldn't date anybody authentically on island. At least nobody that approached me, right? I'm not the type of female to approach men. I never have been. First of all, I'm shy. I'm introverted. And also, although I seem very confident, I'm not confident enough to put myself out there to where I'm going to approach a man. I've never been that type of female. I know females that do that actively and they're okay with doing that. Never been that girl, right? But I realized that I couldn't date anybody authentically on island, and everybody that approached me, every guy that approached me, there were guys that were hitting on me in person. I told you guys this already. If you checked out my cyberstalk and cyberbullying part 1 and part 2 video, I went into detail about the things that were happening around that time. The dudes that would hit on me in person, they all knew. They were all involved. They were using the stimuli to sensitize me. I wasn't a target at the time, y'all. But remember, I told you the cyberstalking, cyberbullying situation was similar to the targeted individual program. Some of the things that were being done to me, especially as it pertains to honeypots. You know how they use the tactic of honeypot on targets? That specifically was more so what I dealt with when I was being cyberstalked and cyberbullied. So every dude that was coming my way was a honeypot. It could have even been dudes that I knew from the past, that I talked to from the past. They were somehow privy to the situation. It almost seemed like they had group chats going around, and I actually remembered the cyber stalking guy, the main guy that I talked about. I'm not going to talk about him in this video like that, but I'm just trying to address something here, right? I even remembered him one time sending me a screenshot of a group chat that was going on with his friends and him. There was a screenshot of this group chat they had going on. They were talking about playing video games, basketball, I think it was. They were playing basketball. And that was something him and I had in common, that we like to play basketball. So he was sending me this group chat about his friends and how they were like clowning one of the friends in the group about basketball, right? But he was showing how they were dipping in and digging and dogging out this dude, one of his so-called friends, in this group chat. But this was one of the passive aggressive things that he did. Remember, I told you he used to do passive aggressive things where he wouldn't directly insult me or come for me? The way he was showing me it and telling me, it was almost like he was hinting to me that they had these group chats and I was the butt of the joke in these group chats, basically. I could tell that's what he was alluding to, right? So I'm pretty sure this was how the thing went around so quick. Remember, this is a small island. It's not really that complicated. You know, it's a small island. I wouldn't say everyone knows everyone, but darn near, right? Or even if you don't know everyone, you know somebody that knows somebody, right? That knows somebody. Like, it's that kind of way, right? So that's how the thing spread so quick. It was so easy for that thing to blow up. And once it did, I couldn't date any dude down here genuinely. Like I said, even dudes from the past. Shit, one of my ex-boyfriends was even privy to the situation and moving different with me. So there was no dude that I could talk to genuinely. And remember, I was in my mid-20s, early mid-20s at that. You know, I was like 24, 25 around that time. You want to date at that age. Most people do. You know, of course, they would gaslight me and make it be like, again, thirsty, instead of it just being normal that a woman wants to date at that age. Most women at that age, you're either in a relationship or you're dating somebody or you're talking to somebody. That's normal. But they know they're very good at making regular things seem obscene in this program. They're very good at doing that, especially if you're the butt of the joke or if you're somebody that they don't like, i.e. target. They're very good at doing that. So anyways, back then I had never had an issue with getting a man. You know, I had several men when I was in Tallahassee, aside from my ex. I told you I dated several men in between that time when him and I took a break. And then when I got back with him, he was on like some sort of revenge type tip, it seems, where he was kind of just using me. I told y'all what happened. I'm not going to go into the details of it. When I came home and that situation popped off with that dude, right? That was the first time I ever found myself having trouble finding a genuine connection with someone. It was like every dude that I talked to was a honeypot and they were privy to the situation. So I no longer trusted talking to anybody that approached me. I didn't even trust talking to dudes that I knew from the past. And I didn't trust going online and trying to reach out, not me reach out and talking to those guys that were reaching out. I said the wrong thing. And talking to those guys that were reaching out. So I do remember at this time coming to the thought in my head, what if I approach someone, is what I thought in my head at the time. This is what I thought in my head, but I said, I would never do that. I'm such a chicken. Like, that's not even me. I had never done that in my life. There's no dude on this island besides the dude I'm about to tell you guys about that I had ever approached or shot my shot at. I've never done that. I don't even have that type of personality, right? I saw this guy. I didn't even know he worked there. I'm pretty sure he thinks, from the way the tone of the conversation went after him and I started talking, and I realized who he was, and I was like, fuck. Excuse my language. When I realized who he was. It's like, this is why I keep saying my luck could not be any worse. I'm going to explain to you how I knew who he was. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know his name, and I didn't know who he was related to. I did know who he was ahead of time. I'm sorry that I started to stammer. I literally just saw somebody walk behind me and go into the office that didn't have a security uniform on. Not go into the office, but go up on the stoop area. Anyways, I didn't know who he was, but I knew of him, if that makes sense. So, you know, when you live in a small town, how basically, like I just told you, everyone knows everybody, or at least you're familiar with certain faces that you see around Island, especially if it's somebody that's in your age group. That's similar to what happened in this situation with this guy, except it was a little bit more in depth than that. He ties back to the guy from high school, actually. And so I think what he thought was my approaching him was like some premeditated revenge plot to get back at his cousin, who I learned his cousin was the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude. He probably thought my approaching him was this premeditated revenge plot to get back at him because of what happened to me with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying, when little did he know it was because of the cyberstalking, cyberbullying situation, but not the way he thought. The reason I approached him, right, and this is what happened. I went into the grocery store. This was impromptu. It wasn't premeditated. I didn't plan it. I didn't even know he worked there. And this is to tell you the level of low state I was at too. Remember, again, I reiterate, this was in the years of my alcoholism. So this was towards the end or the latter part of my blackout drunken years, and like the beginning part of that year where I was a functioning alcoholic and I finally started to get myself together. You have to know I was damn well low to approach a man. I've never been that type of female. I'm so shy and awkward. You know, I have a hard time talking to dudes that approach me, much less putting myself out there like that. But in my head, I thought, well, if I approach a guy, maybe he won't know about the situation, because it's not going to be somebody that was sent after me, right? And so it's not going to be a honeypot. It's not like I sat there and I premeditated, I'm going to pick one of the dudes that looks good enough and I'm going to approach them. Like, that wasn't the mindset. I've actually never approached a guy in my life before, right? There's no guy on this island, I'm saying that with my whole chest, that can say I ever approached them aside from this dude, right? So what it was I went in the grocery store. I saw that he was working there. And that's to tell you too, not that I'm judging where he works, right? That's to tell you I'm not the stuck up bitch that they try to paint me as. But that's to tell you, I approached a dude that was working in a grocery store. I mean, understand the level of where I was at, but then also to understand that I'm not a stuck up person. Anyway, so I went in there and I saw him and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy that I had the crush on in high school. So when I was in high school, remember I told you guys that there was a guy that I had fallen for, my best friend. Him and I were like friends for like 4 years in high school. And for about 3 years, him and I used to talk on the phone all night long. And it was this kind of weird friendship we had where it almost seemed like he liked me, but he was never straightforward about it or forthcoming with that. And I was never straightforward about it either. And to be real with you, I've said this in one of the recent videos, I do think he liked me and I think he was embarrassed about it because I was a nerd in high school, like a real nerd, like a real bookworm nerd, you know, them kind of nerdy kind of girls. I was a nerd. And so I think there was like a level of embarrassment there with that. I'm just keeping it real. And so, but also too, though, I was immature. I never told him I liked him either. And so he used to do these weird things where he would show me other girls and then look at me for my reaction. It was this weird thing he used to do. And I used to do it too, right? I used to show him guys I liked and look at him for a reaction to it. Like, this is weird, stupid, immature stuff. We were young. This was years ago. You know, as I told you guys in one of these recent videos where I was recounting that situation, there's no feelings there anymore. This was like decades ago. But I'm just telling you how it ties in to me approaching this guy and why I really approached him. It had nothing to do with who his cousin is. And I didn't even know his cousin was that dude. This is why when I found out, I almost freaking knocked my block off. I was like, oh my God, this looks terrible. I was like, my luck is so bad. Like, I have the worst. I told you guys, my parents moved into that guy's family's neighborhood. That wasn't planned. It's just like everything worked out as far as that situation goes to screw me over. Like, I can't even explain. This is why I thought something was going on spiritually. I was like, what the heck? Anyway, so I saw that he worked there. I didn't know ahead of time he worked there. There was no premeditated anything. And when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, that's the guy that I thought was so cute in high school that I had the crush on. And what it was in high school with that guy, the one that was my best friend that I liked so bad, I thought I was in love with, whatever, puppy love. I remembered him showing me pictures of his cousins. And I remembered him telling me that they used to go and play basketball. That was also something him and I had in common too, playing basketball. So I remembered him telling me he used to go and play basketball with his cousins. And so he was showing me pictures of his cousins and his friends that he used to go play with. So I didn't even go to school with this guy. I just knew his face from around Island, and then found out on top of things that he was the cousin of the dude that I thought I was in love with, right? So they share a cousin. Yes, the story gets more twisted by the minute. They share a cousin, apparently. I didn't know that ahead of time. Remember the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy hit on me through Instagram, via Instagram. So I had no idea that he had any type of link to that dude from high school. I didn't learn that until years later when I approached his cousin, not knowing that that was his cousin too. So I never got to tell my side of the story with that, and I understood that how that looked, and I just remembered wanting to pull my hair out when the thing happened. Anyway, so in high school, the dude that I liked so bad, he was showing me pictures of his cousins and his friends and stuff and the people he played basketball with. And I remembered seeing the dude and saying, wait a minute, that's your cousin? You know, we already had this kind of relationship where we were best friends, and it was just this weird thing where we would show each other people we liked, this kind of way. And so when he showed me that that dude was his cousin, I had already seen that dude around Island. I didn't know him. I never went to school with him. I just remembered I used to see him around Island, and I thought he was freaking cute. I thought he was adorable. He just looked really good to me. And so I said, wait, that's your cousin? And I said, wow, I said, I have such a crush on that guy. Not really a crush. I don't even know him like that to say crush. But I remember telling him I have a crush on that guy. I said, I didn't know you were related to him. And he said, yeah. He was telling me all the girls like that dude. You know, apparently he's like a big hit down here. I don't know what it is, but obviously he's an attractive guy. He's really good looking. Right? So I didn't know that he was cousins with that dude too. I knew he was cousins with the guy from high school. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I knew he was cousins with the guy that I thought I was in love with in high school. Did not know he was cousins with that dude, right? Not saying that dude in a way like I'm being nasty about it. The reason I'm sounding so tense about it is you don't understand the type of backlash I got from talking about that situation and the stuff they started to create from that thing. So now this happens, and then I end up working with that guy's brother. I'm like, my luck is so freaking shit, man. Pun intended. You know, they like to throw the word shit at me. So anyways, after approaching him, I don't even remember what happened. It was years ago, y'all. Like I told you, I'm 32 now. This was like in my early 20s. I think I was like 24, 25 when the thing happened, when I approached him. Right? So he was, I think, helping me with my grocery bags or whatever. And I tried to, some kind of game. I don't have no game, none. And I'm not used to approaching men either. So I don't even remember what the hell I told him. But we ended up exchanging numbers and talking. And of course, I'm hearing the laughing in the background on the phone. And, you know, the same thing that would happen with every dude that approached me after the situation with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. And I even remember him saying on the phone, you seem like you were on a mission, like you knew exactly who I was. I remembered him saying that, and I didn't understand why he was saying that. You know, I didn't catch on until he added me on Facebook, and I saw the last name, and I said, oh, shit. And then come to find out down the line that he's cousins with that dude. Like first cousins, I think, or second cousin, like close cousins. Like cousin with that dude. I had no clue. It's just like a freaking, like just bad luck. The part of him that's cousins with the dude from high school that I used to think I was in love with is not related to the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude. So somehow of all the dudes on this freaking island that I chose to approach, it just happened to be his cousin. I had no idea. I wasn't friends with him on Facebook. I didn't know his name. I never knew his name. I knew his face. And I remember the dude from high school saying, oh man, yeah, everybody likes him. He was telling me that. Like apparently a lot of girls like him. He's a good looking guy. And he looks nothing like the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. Not to say that like I'm saying he's not attractive. That's not what I'm saying, because you know they think I'm a bully and this and that. I'm not saying that. I'm just letting you know he looks nothing like that guy. The complexion is different, everything. If anything, I would venture to say he looks more like the dude that I liked in high school than that guy, but he doesn't even look like him either. But I would say he looks more like the dude from high school than he does the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. So that's why I caught on to why he was reacting the way he was when him and I was talking on the phone. I just figured, oh boy, another dude that knows. That's what I thought. I was just like, okay, bad luck. Another one, you know, it's island wide. Another one that seems to be privy. And then when he added me on Facebook and I realized what was going on, I said, that's why he said that. That's why he was saying, you look like you know exactly who I was, this and that. So I was like, oh my God, they probably think I approached him as some sort of revenge plot because I was getting bullied, basically, cyberstalked and cyberbullied, and so as a revenge plot. Why would I do that? Who would be, let's put it into perspective, because similar to the texting, we have to put things in perspective and think logically. I'm not a stupid girl. I have to keep saying this, right? That was probably a low point for me, approaching a man. That was low, but I'm not stupid. Why the hell would I think that I could go after your cousin? You already got all these people who aren't related to you, right? I don't want to, because I'm being careful about the thing, because I already got a lot of backlash for talking about it. But a lot of people already were against me that weren't even related to him, right? Why the hell would I think in my convoluted mind that I could go to your cousin, of all people, and recruit him and get him to be on my side, or whatever it is, whatever warped thing they thought was happening there? Why would I think that? So it's just like, I couldn't even really explain the thing, it's just one of those things where it's like, ooh, when I realized who he was, I backed all the way off. I completely cut contact with the dude. But at that point, it was already too late. I had already reached out to him. I already asked for his number of all dudes on island for me to choose to do this with. And then come to realize that they're cousins. And I couldn't say, hey, no, I actually hit on you because I remember that you were cousins with the guy I thought I was in love with in high school, and he showed me a picture of you, and I realized I had a crush on you, and then I saw you here in the store, and I decided to ask for your number on a whim because every guy that hits on me has something to do with a situation that happened with your other cousin that I didn't know you were related to. I mean, how does that work, Sway? Does that even sound like it makes sense? I couldn't even really swing that. I just had to be like, fuck, and just cut the shit off and stop talking to him, but it had already happened. And so I'm like, shit. I remember just feeling mortified. Like, one of them moments where you want to hide under a rock? It was one of those type of moments when I realized who he was and who he was related to. Aside from the dude from high school. I didn't mind him being related to the guy from high school. I didn't have any issue with that guy from high school. Nothing weird happened with him. Aside from the fact that back then I just kind of thought my heart was broken or whatever. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a situation like this where it's like, uh-oh, boo-boo, big boo-boo, that you can't fix, another one. And so I was just like, how is it like everything with this situation kept working out to me over? Even my parents moving into the neighborhood where his family lives. It's just like, it's so weird how the whole thing, I can't tell you how weird the whole thing kept working out. Anyway, so now, to add insult to injury to make things more weird, years later, I'm here at Target now, and all these things done popped up, and I done talked about the situation, and I done got backlash for it. I'm here doing security of all people for me to work with. I'm working with the dude's younger brother, the guy that I approached that was cousins with that dude. I'm working with his younger brother. And the only reason, again, that I realized that is because, remember, I was friends with him on Facebook. And so I used to see him tagging his brother and stuff. And so I recognized the name, not the face, because he's older now. So I didn't recognize his face. It was the name. And then when I saw the name, and then that moment where you have an epiphany? And I saw the face and I said, ding dong. He does look kind of like, and I was like, shit. So now every time I see him, he's very nice. He's never been nasty towards me. I know he knows about the situation. I've actually gotten nastier attitudes from other people who's privy to the situation rather than him who's actually related to the dude. I didn't get any nasty attitude from him. He always just says goodnight. I say goodnight to him, and it's simple like that. But my brain ticks. Every time I see him, my brain ticks. And so it's like that name starts to pop in my head. It will be either his brother's name, the one who I approached, or the cousin for the cyber stalking situation. I'm like, it's like you can't even control it. It's like the name is popping in and I can't control it. And so I remember that situation. I'm like, oh my God, what if they use that to try to spin the narrative? This is what I kept thinking. I'm like, shit. I'm like, should I talk about this in the videos or not? Should I talk about it or not? I'm like, nah, I don't want to talk about it. I just felt like, nah. But then I went into the store. As you can see, the note says, dude I saw and cost you less. I went in the store yesterday and I saw the brother, the same brother I work with. I'm pretty sure that was him. And I'm walking by the freezer section. I was just trying to get yogurt. And I felt someone watching me, and I look and I see him there watching me. And they knew I was going to the store. I was at the laundry and I was thinking in my head, I have to go get cheese. Remember, they're hearing my thoughts. So I don't know if it's a coincidence that he was in there or if they planted, because, remember I told you what they do at the gym. I suspect they be putting people, certain people in the gym. I've talked about this in detail in that part 3 gang stalking activity documentation video, planting people for certain things, right? So it's like, did they make him go there because of that? Or was this just a coincidence because he was actually watching me too? So I was like, let me talk about this. I wasn't going to. I kept debating with myself, should I talk about this? Should I talk about this? Should I talk about this? And then I was just like, I saw that yesterday. I was like, let me, I need to do this video anyway. Let me talk about that. Because I think that's going to make things better for me too when I see him and my brain is ticking. I'm not going to feel as awkward about this, like this unseen, like elephant in the room thing that I haven't addressed. I never got to tell my side of the story with that either. Even back then when I was mortified and I didn't even know how to explain to him, no, it wasn't what you think. So low key, this is a blessing in disguise. Like a lot of the things I never got to talk about, now that I'm targeted, I'm getting to talk about. So anyways, next thing, y'all. Oh, my head hurts. Next thing. What was placed on the basketball court? Okay, so let me show y'all real quickly. I'm so glad I can show you guys what's going on. Remember I told you guys I have you guys in the last video. When I'm switching apps, I need to stop talking because it glitches. This recorder app sucks really bad. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go over to my pictures so I can show you guys what was planted at the basketball court today when I went to go work out. Y'all see this? Let me press on it. It's those live photos. Let me press so you guys can see. Big bottle of booze, right? At the basketball court today when I went to work out. Not today, yesterday. So let me hop back over to the app. So what happened is, I told you guys I have this vigorous workout schedule that I'm doing, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I weightlift, right? I go to the gym and I have this vigorous routine where I'm doing weightlifting. I'm doing lunges, I'm doing squats, I'm squatting 200 pounds. I'm doing deadlifts, I'm deadlifting 200 pounds. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Mind you, I only weigh 172. So I'm deadlifting and I'm squatting heavier than my body weight. Whatever, I'm not trying to sit here and brag. I just want you to understand how intense my workout regimen has been, right? Part of why I've been so tired too. Tuesday, Thursday, I rest. Every other Tuesday, I ride my bike, right? So one Tuesday, I'll rest, and then the next Tuesday, I'll ride my bike. I have a route that I go. Every Sunday on my schedule, I jog for 20 minutes. I have a route that I like to jog. And then I go to the basketball court when I can, whenever I can get the car. Eventually, when I get my own car, that's going to be like a set part of my routine. But for now, it's like a whenever I can type of thing. So as I told you guys, my mom is out of town and I have her car for the moment, right? So this was a time where I could go to the basketball court. So I remember doing my jog. I was out all day yesterday. I had to go to the laundry. I had to go to the store. That was where I saw the guy and my brain was ticking. All these different things I had to do. And then I ate, I told y'all already, I haven't really been eating the way I typically like to eat. I'm into holistic health and eating natural, all that type of stuff. Recently, my main focus has been gaining weight. I told y'all I'm in a bulking phase. I'm not totally doing a dirty bulk where I'm just eating straight junk, but I'm not eating as healthy as I usually do. So every now and then I'm eating like straight junk. Like especially I want to say like within the last week, it's like last 2 weeks. I kind of went to KFC on a whim, just thinking I would give myself a treat. And these things have MSG and all these different addictive things in them. I found myself craving KFC more and more. So like within the last 2 weeks, I've stopped at KFC about 3 or 4 times now, right? So I had this big box of KFC yesterday and it was sitting on my stomach, y'all. You know how the grease is, just getting in your stomach and sit on you and just make you feel nasty and stuff. And if you have to work out after eating such a greasy, unhealthy meal, it can make it hard, especially if you're doing something like cardio. It makes it more difficult. The lactic acid builds up quicker. You find yourself getting winded quicker, all that type of stuff. That's what was happening on my jog yesterday. Like I was winded, y'all. Like I felt like, I told y'all I set checkpoints. In one of these videos, I told you guys that along my route. So I'll jog for a little bit, for a few minutes. Then I get to one checkpoint and then I'll walk for like a minute, catch myself, jog to the next checkpoint, etc., until the jog is over. My checkpoints were difficult yesterday because of the fact that I ate the KFC. Like I was struggling. But because I have the wherewithal to push through, I'm used to working out and pushing past the pain and push through the pain. And, I know what that feeling is when you get that feeling of wanting to stop and feeling out of breath when you're jogging. I know that's a buildup of lactic acid. And just from endurance and being athletic, I know the more that I do it, the more that I can build a tolerance to the lactic acid buildup. And that's what's been happening. My jogging has increased my tolerance level. So even though that was happening to me and I was feeling the effects of the KFC, I was still able to push through and hit all of my checkpoints. And as I'm struggling, struggling. I guess they thought I wasn't going to hit my checkpoints. I was still hitting all of my checkpoints. And so I'm hearing the bird drones while I'm hitting my checkpoints. I'm hearing the drones. I'm hearing them making how they like to do, like, remember I told you what happens sometimes with that cop that I suspect they send into the gym after me? Similar to how when I'm getting heavier with my squatting and I get to like the 200 pounds and I'm squatting and I'm struggling a little, but I still can push through and get it lifted. When I get to that struggling phase, I notice sometimes, not every time, that cop will purposely like walk over, it seems. Like when things are getting hard for me to kind of distract me, but it motivates me more. And so that's kind of what was happening yesterday when I was struggling to hit my checkpoints. They're making the birds go, go off. And it motivated me more. And I pushed through and I got all my checkpoints. So after that, I went straight to the basketball court. I was sweaty. It was really hot. It was a real hot day yesterday. It's summertime and I'm in the islands, y'all. And the islands are closer to the equator. So it's naturally hotter anyways year round. But summertime, it gets real hot. We're getting to those months where it's real hot. So anyways, I still took myself and went to the basketball court. I get to the basketball court, right? I'm ready, thinking I'm having myself a nice little session. I always set it for 30 minutes. I don't stay out there too long, especially since I'm doing it right after jogging, right after doing a set of cardio. I set my alarm for 30 minutes. I come out the car, park up, whatever. I get on the court. I see that big ass bottle of booze in the middle of the court. Now, mind you, I've gone to that basketball court several times. They knew I was going. They never put a bottle of booze there before. I think they were mad that I was able to hit my checkpoints despite my struggling. That's what I think it was. It's like they don't like when I'm, not they, like when I say they, I'm very particular about who I'm talking about because I don't like making generalizations. And I keep telling you that although I realize everybody on the island is privy to what's happening to me and a lot of people are involved, I already realized it's not everyone. So I keep trying to be careful with how I'm wording things. When I say they, I'm talking about those that are against me or who want to see me fail, etc., etc. That's who I'm talking about. So I noticed that whenever I'm doing good, they, and I'm talking about the people that are against me, get in a tizzy. Even in that career update video that I created. Anytime I play it back and I get to the part where I'm talking about my degree or having a 3.5 GPA, they start reffing in the road. I'm like, why is that upsetting you? It's this weird thing. I think they think I'm this like cocky whatever, and they just want to see me like humbled and rolling on the floor is what it seems like. Anyway, so I got there and I see the big bottle of booze, and so that what that did, right? It egged on the competitive edge in me and it motivated me more. So I told you guys I used to be really good at basketball. I've played it my whole life. Like I'm talking about since elementary. From the first time I learned what a basketball was, I was dribbling and they're like, wow, she has good handles for a child, like really good from the time I was a child. And so throughout the years as I got older and older, obviously I started playing basketball. I have naturally long arms, right? I have square shoulders. I told you I have a mesomorphic body type. Like I'm built for athletics. I've been playing sports my whole life. So I'm good at it. So I'm just there shooting, and remember I told you guys when I first started shooting recently, I noticed that my shooting was a little off. Remember I told you guys it's like I still have good aim, but it's like it's hitting right at where the rim is, but not going in. So it keeps hitting rim. It keeps hitting rim, right? So it's like I have a straight shot, but it's not swooshing in like how it used to when I was younger and I used to play avidly. It's not the same where I would just be hitting buckets. Like it's going to take a while for me to really build up and obviously practice and condition myself into shooting good again. And then too, I'm going to hoops that are kind of messed up, bent up. Let me show you the hoop I was shooting on. I know you saw what the court looked like. This is an old kind of, you could almost say abandoned court that's in this neighborhood that I be going to shoot at. The hoop is good enough that I can shoot and play, but it's a rundown court. Let me show you the hoop I be shooting on. Y'all see the hoop I'm shooting on, right? But a hoop is a hoop at the end of the day. And if you know how to shoot, you know how to shoot. So they're doing whatever, right? They're making noise campaign. I even saw like this high grass all around the court, by the way, y'all. Y'all can't see because I didn't take a video of the surrounding area. It's covered in grass, the area. I even saw like some sort of creature or maybe a person like running through the bush. I couldn't see who it was because the bush is so high. After I saw the bottle of booze, I guess they thought I was going to go and have like this horrible reaction. Like they don't know by now how I react when they do stuff like that. So I just laughed it off and I started to dribble the ball. I started to cross up. I started to make shots. and I was making my shots more than not this time. I started to make a bunch of buckets on them. And while I'm making buckets, I'm trolling them and shit talking. And that's what people who play sports do anyways. So of course they would paint it like I'm being a narcissist bitch and negate the fact that they literally bullied me and put a big bottle of booze in the middle of the court, and negate the fact that I'm just responding reactive abuse to the noise campaigns and everything you're doing. You're paying attention avidly. You're trying to tear me down, so I'm going to put on a show for you. Make lemons out of lemonade. Lemonade, out of lemons. That's what I'm doing. So I started shooting the ball and shit talking them, kind of like if you would do at a game. I was like, I hope you guys are seeing these shots. I said, I hope you're getting close-ups. Whatever stupid shit I was saying, man. Dumb stuff. I was like, you got that? Every time I would make a shot, I said, you got a close-up? I'm kissing at them, all kind of stuff, and I don't even see them. Remember, they're watching me on these insect drones, whatever. I can't see them. I'm just hearing the noise campaign. They start to get quiet, right? As I'm making the shots, all of a sudden they're getting quiet. And then whenever I'd miss, the bird is going off. So I'm like, after a while of being there, it got so freaking hot. It was so freaking hot out there. I was like, okay, I gotta go home. I had did the jogging and everything. I didn't stay out there the full 30 minutes. I made enough shots of them. I trolled them enough that made me feel content, as a reply to the big nasty booze bottle in the middle of the court. And I went home. I was like, I gotta go. It's too hot. I said, I'm going home. I said, I hope y'all got a close-up of all those shots. And I blew a kiss at them. And I went in my car and I went to go home. As I'm going home now, what was it that happened? I think something came on the radio or something. I think I made an awkward face about something. It wasn't anything on the radio. Something happened that made me make an awkward face or something. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the radio. Something happened. I didn't put the radio on. I made an awkward face about something. And then I heard, all of a sudden, when I made the awkward face, I heard the ambulance go, wee, wee, wee. And so I just started to crack up. I said, oh, y'all still paying attention? They stopped. Typically they keep making the noises and making the noises and making the noises when they start doing noise campaign. When I said, oh, y'all still paying attention? They completely stopped. They never do that. So I know I really got under their skin with that, right? They stopped. So anyways, I drove to the house and I got this call from my sister, basically telling me that she's in town and she forgot to let me know that she was coming back today. I'm like, God. After that just happened, they love to weaponize. I've already told you guys this already. They love to weaponize that relationship against me. They love weaponizing her against me because of what I said in my full story. Those of you that know, like that have been privy, not to use that stimuli, but that have been privy to my situation, you know how they like to weaponize my sister against me. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, they're going to be going ham today on the road. I know they are. I'm like, they're going to be going ham. Let me try to hurry at 13%. Look at what I'm doing. I have more to talk about. I'm like, they're going to be going ham on the road today. I'm like, I know they're going to be doing extra. I was just expecting it. I already know. I'm so used to dealing with what they do. And they don't even really switch it up that much. They continue to do the same things over and over and over. So it's like I can kind of predict what's coming next. So it's like, oh boy, here we go. But I still got myself together, obviously, and I went to give her the ride. So on my way to the airport, it's this kind of back road where you get off the main road when you get on the airport road. I'm heading to get into the airport now. Before I actually get through the gates and get into the airport, I noticed this red car coming up behind me, and it's one of those really loud rum rum type of cars. I kind of heard it rev a little. It wasn't going too loud, but I heard the noise. That's what made me look up and notice it in the first place. I said, oh boy, they're already ready to start, huh? I said, I wonder, right? This is what I thought in my head. I didn't accuse. I didn't make an accusation. I simply thought, I wonder if that's Rev campaign. I know they know too because they heard my thoughts. Remember, my thoughts are being projected. This is all I thought. I simply thought, I wonder if that's Rev campaign. I said, now I know people with that car do need to come to the airport sometimes. I had this whole combo in my head, I know they heard it. I said, I know people with that car does need to, I know people that have that type of car do need to, I'm sorry, I'm seeing somebody walking by and it's distracting me, y'all. But I was saying, I know people with that kind of car has to come to the airport sometimes, so that might actually be somebody coming to the airport, but it's hard to tell. It's a red car and it's a Rev campaign car. I said, what are the odds? As soon as I thought that, the dude started to rev up and speed up behind me. Not crazy as in like he's gonna run me off the road or anything like that, but he started to rev up and speed up aggressively behind me. So I said, oh yeah, I got you. I pulled over to the side to let him pass me. As he passed me, he didn't necessarily grimace at me, right? But he had like this stoic kind of bully-like expression on his face, and he had like this very big, mean-looking face. And when I say big, it's not like he was overweight. He was just a bigger guy in general. He wasn't overweight. He damn sure wasn't skinny, but he wasn't overweight. It wasn't even anything like that. But he just had like this mean type of face that reminded me of an ogre. He wasn't even ugly. You know, like for me, you know how they love to call me ugly with their bullshit. But anyways, I would never call anyone ugly. I'm just not that type of person as much as they think I am. For me, if he really had what would be considered, and really beauty's in the eyes of the beholder anyway. Of course, you have a universal standard of beauty where most people might say that this thing is attractive, but truly beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, right? So it's really not a situation like that. It's subjective. You know, one person might think that look good and one person might not, right? But I don't think his face was bad looking. If I really did, I wouldn't have really even talked about how he looked. I would have just more so focused on telling you he had a mean expression, and that's why I called him ogre. He truly was not a bad looking, in my opinion, guy. Average. He's not a Denzel, right? He's not a Brad Pitt. He's not a Lance Gross. He had an average face. That's all it is, right? Nothing that you would call ugly. At least not in my opinion. Maybe somebody else would. I don't know. It's whatever your views are, right? But his mean expression on his big face, the mean expression, in addition to the gang stalking activity, him revving up, simply because obviously I have PTSD and trauma. Back to the theme of the video. Remember, that's what the theme of this video is, PTSD and trauma. Because I have PTSD and trauma from being stalked on these roads for years by Rev Campaign and red vehicles, because I simply wondered, I didn't accuse, I didn't say, look, Rev Campaign, oh God, you know, I could see if I started thinking that kind of way and then he revved up on my ass. I just simply thought this, and I wonder if that's Rev Campaign. I said, because what are the odds that a red car, that type of car, will be driving back here behind me right now? That's all I thought. I said, well, you never know. I said, because people with that type of car do need to pick people up from the airport. I literally thought that in my head. It's not like I accused him. I said, man, look, Rev Campaign. Oh my God. You know, I could see if I did that and then he started to react the way he did. So he revving up and doing all this extra stuff. And then like, this mean bully type expression on his big mean looking face. It just instantly was reminiscent of Shrek, the ogre. That's what I thought. Shrek, the ogre. Instantly when I saw his face. So I said, look at this ogre. I didn't say it out loud. I thought it in my head. I said, look at this ogre. You know, anything makes me monster bitch. Even though it's a response, again, reactive abuse. Anything makes me monster bitch. So that, you know, I just thought to myself, man, look at this ogre. Look at him. It's when I thought that, obviously he's hearing my thoughts in real time. He starts to rev up more. Rum, rum, rum. And he pops by me. He takes the card and he goes in the airport, right? So I take my ticket. I go in there too. I had to drive by him. He's revving by us. I'm driving by him. Rum, rum, putting on a big show. So I pull up to pick my sister up. I didn't even pull in good to pick her up because I got bassity. Remember, that's island term for flustered. Right? I got flustered. He pulls up now. He's putting on this big production. Rum, 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 rum. Doing all this extra stuff because of my thoughts and me thinking that he was an ogre. And it was more about how he acted rather than how he looked. So anyways, that created now this thing where I'm on the road. They weren't really revving that bad, actually. They didn't rev up that bad after that interaction, but I did hear a little Rev Campaign on the road. And in my head, I'm just like, this is going to be another thing they're going to use to tack onto the smear campaign of me being monster bitch. When it's just PTSD and trauma, and I just thought a simple question about whether or not is this Rev Campaign because of PTSD and trauma. And then he had this horrible reaction, which led to me calling him an ogre. Anyway, he was truly picking somebody up. He was truly picking somebody up from the airport. Anyways, on to the next thing, y'all, that I need to talk about. Tested stimuli and what was... this thing now. To address this again, y'all. You know, I have to laugh. I have to laugh because it's so hilarious that they keep coming with this bullshit. Right? Remember the same thing I told you guys that they like to sensitize me to, the HIV thing, right? To fearmonger. Because stupidly with my big stupid mouth in my full story, I told them, first of all, that that's something I have a phobia of, not just specifically that illness, but illness in general. I told them that I'm a hypochondriac, but then I also told them that I had a scare when I was in my early 20s, mid early 20s, like 24. It was like around age 24, I believe, actually, when it happened to me, or 23 actually, when it happened to me years ago. I'm 32 now, y'all. Years ago, right? When a thing happened to me. But basically in those 2 years where I was a blackout drunk, I told you guys I got raped. And later on found out the dude obviously didn't use protection. He wasn't really the most trustworthy dude. You know, I'm not going to go into too much more detail. Look, they're putting the chicken by me now to gaslight me. I already talked about the fact that this thing happened over a decade ago. If anybody understands how that illness works, right? For you to have it that long and not be showing any symptoms. You can have it for a long time, right? I'm educated on these things. I told you I'm into holistic health and I'm a hypochondriac. And when I found out that he had done it with me without protection, right? I looked into that illness in particular because I was paranoid, right? There is a dormant phase that can happen with that thing. It's true. Look at them gaslighting now, putting the chicken by my window. There is a dormant phase that can happen with that thing. It's not going to last this long, to the point where it's this long after they hit me with radiation. I suspect, let me say I suspect, although I'm 99.999, look, flying the thing in my face again, 999% sure that that's what happened. I was an alcoholic. There's no way all of that happened, and it's been this long, and I'm not wasting away or showing more serious symptoms. Do your research on how the illness works. The dormant, look at them getting mad now because I'm speaking facts. The dormant phase doesn't last that long. And even still, if you're one of those people that has a super strong immune system and you happen to have the full dormant phase of 10 years or whatever it is, right? And don't show symptoms, that's not going to be the case if you were living the life I lived. If you were an alcoholic for 3 years and then got hit with radiation, that's not going to be the case. First of all, I told you guys when I found out the rape happened, I was afraid to get tested. And I remembered my mother taking me to see a rape counselor at the Red Cross. That's some place that we have down here, you know. Wait, I think Red Cross is universal, isn't it? Well, anyways, we have one down here. And the lady was telling me, she said, with the years of drinking that you had and the way that you were drinking, she said, by now you would have been showing serious symptoms. And she said, I know you don't have it from looking in your eyes. And she was telling me that typically people that have that, especially as long as I would have had it at that point when she was talking to me, she would see it in their eyes. She said she can see it in their eyes. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. Because remember, I told you guys I'm into holistic health. And typically when you have an illness, especially immune deficiency, you can see it in the eyes. The white of the eyes are going to start to turn red, right? You might see because what that represents, the redness in the eyes, is acidity, right? So when you have redness in your eyes, that's acidic. That means that your body is acidic. You're dealing with acidosis, right? That's acidity. And that means that your immune system is not functioning properly when you have that redness in your eyes. Another thing that you might notice is black rings under your eyes, right? All of these things start to happen when you're suffering with immune deficiencies or autoimmune deficiencies for that matter. You see it in the eye area. They have something called iridology, right? For those people that are into holistic health, natural health, whatever, right? They have something, see the revving up. Anytime I speak facts, they get mad. Or anytime I'm saying something good or I can refute something they're trying to use, they get mad and they rev up. And again, I'm talking about the people that have the problem, right? So anyways, there's something called iridology. And what iridology, right? This is a natural health type thing, holistic health type thing. You have doctors that use your eyes to see if you have anything going on within your body. Like there are different locations in your eyes that they can look at to pinpoint what part of your body needs help, right? But not only that, they can look at the white of your eyes and determine how bad your health is or isn't, right? So if you have really pink, reddish type eyes, you might want to get yourself checked out. It could be that you just need rest. It could be that. But there is also the possibility that your immune system is suffering if you have red eyes, right? That shows that your body is acidic. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're sick, so that's not something to be paranoid about. It could just mean that you're having a poor diet and your body's more acidic than it is alkaline. So anyways, my eyes are white. Right now I'm sleepy. I've been at work all night long. I'm about to get off. My eyes are white, crystal white, right? I have big white eyes. I'm doing just fine. At this point, as long ago as that rape happened, if that was the contact point of me getting that, God forbid, Yah forbid, and they hit me with the radiation the way they did last year, I suspect, just for the sake of not bearing false witness. Remember, I told you guys I can't concretely prove it, but I had all the symptoms and they were hinting to me that that's what was happening. I even lost a bunch of weight, got really sick, felt the burning sensation, everything. If that's what was going on, you guys, if I had been infected, God forbid, Yah forbid, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua. If I had been infected with that thing so long ago, and they hit me with radiation the way they did last year, I suspect, and I had that stint of being an alcoholic, don't you think by now I would be in the freaking hospital sick? If even still going, God forbid, again with the sick thing. So this is stupid, that narrative they're using. You're either incriminating yourself and hinting that you did something that I should be concerned about, or you're fear-mongering and bullying. It's stupid. Stop sending the stimuli. It's dumb. Stop. So anyways, That's all I wanted to say about that, y'all, because you see what happened earlier in the last clip, right? When I was talking about the Mariah Huck thing and how she tested negative for drugs. And as soon as I said tested, they were revving up. So that's what made me talk about this again. I'm not going to talk about it again. But I do just want you to know they keep sending me that stuff. Again, just yesterday. I'm not going to go to YouTube and show you the video. You can see I'm on 10%. I need to try to hurry up and finish this video. I don't want to have to make clips, or else you won't be able to see the alcohol thing I just showed you guys a little while ago. Yeah, even yesterday on YouTube, they were trolling again. They sent me with the shadow networking AI software. Remember how they send you the subliminal, the videos with subliminal stuff in it? In my recommended on YouTube, they sent me something about this lady that had like all these bumps all over her skin. It's some fibrosis, something condition she has, right? Where she had like all these little mini benign tumors all over her. You know how they have conditions like that where it's not necessarily malignant, it's not cancer, but it's like benign little tumors all over the place, non-cancerous tumors, all over this lady's body. And it was causing her pain. Apparently it was connected to her nerves and stuff, right? And she was saying sometimes she's walking around and people think she has herpes and they don't want to be around her or touch her, or they think she has, you know what, HIV, right? This is what she said. I'm like, there's why would they throw this in my news feed? You are shadow networking, and you're also trying to create something too, trying to create this environment where this could be a new gang stalking tactic for them to act like, you know, this kind of scornful way towards me, trying to create something again, right? So I'm just like, they're so good at what they do, man. So I just wanted to talk about that. My battery's low. I got to move on to the next thing. I've already broke this stupid thing down in several videos. It's either A, that they're trolling, right? Which I think is what's really going on, trolling and fear-mongering, or B, they're incriminating themselves and kind of hinting to me that they did something, Yah forbid. I don't think they would be that obvious about doing, you know, I don't think so. I would pray not. So I think it's A, that they're fear-mongering, bullying, and whatever. Moving on to the next. Oh, the last thing. I don't want to talk about this, but I have to. This was not planned. As you can see, it's like the last thing on the list. I was not planning to talk about this at all. I was mad when I wrote that. I wrote crazy coworker. I wasn't going to write the word crazy. I mean, how he acted was crazy to me. But I wasn't going to say crazy. I don't be looking for problems, y'all. And y'all already know I'm targeted too. So I could be dead right in a situation and it can still be a problem for me, right? Rather than the other person, just because I'm target, right? But I had this incident with my coworker when I got on work last night. Of course, it's awkward. I'm still at work. Everybody's watching me, including probably that coworker. So you have to understand, it's so weird when you're targeted, man. You have to document stuff because something happens. But it's like I have to document it. It's just another one of those things, right? 10%, I'm going to try to hurry up and do this quickly so this video isn't too long, right? So basically, there's this coworker that I work with. Actually, most nights when I come to do security, I work with him, right? Remember I told you guys, I don't remember which video I talked about this in because I don't necessarily go into details with you all about what I do here when I'm doing security. And I haven't really gone into detail about my role as a security guard. But on most nights, what I do is, hold on, I'm going to move y'all because it looks like the blower is about to start going. So I'm going to go ahead and move to a different location. I just want to hurry up and finish this part of the video so that I can then end the video. Battery's low too, as you guys can see. It's on 10%. So I'm trying to hurry up and end this. And it's awkward too, like I said, making this video right now, like really awkward. But it is what it is. I have to document. And I'm making the video now, so it's like I may as well just, you know, I'm not trying to dedicate a whole video to this stupidness. I'm not. So anyways, y'all, as I told y'all in the last clip, I kind of started to talk about what's going on. About a month ago, I want to say like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. You know, time is flying and it's hard to keep track of things, especially when you're targeted. A month and a half ago to 2 months ago, this new supervisor came on shift, right? So he just got hired now with the company. I'm pretty sure I talked about him at least once in one of my prior videos. Not too in depth. I didn't say anything too crazy about him. I was just explaining, oh, that's right, that video that I deleted. There was another video I made recently about another supervisor. I deleted that video about this other supervisor, one that I call the nice supervisor. We call him the nice supervisor. Something that happened, and nothing bad with him really. It was just something that I wasn't sure about, and I made a video about. I decided to delete it. That was where I also talked about this other supervisor that I'm about to talk about now that gave me the directive to stay in the office. So anyways, I'm gonna just kind of treat it like I'm gonna treat it like I never told you guys about him. So this new supervisor, right? I know him from the past. I don't know him like that. Him and I, remember I told you I went to private school back in the day when I was younger? I went to private school all the way up to 8th grade. And then 9th through 12th grade, I went to public school. So back in the day when I went to private school, this guy also went to the same private school as me, except he was older than me. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's like a year older than my sister, if I'm not mistaken. So I know his face. You know, my mom worked at that school for a number of years. She was like a dean. She used to help kids get into college and stuff. She was dean of student affairs. So she used to help like the kids get into college and stuff. So she had a relationship with a lot of them. And she was also a chemistry teacher before she became the guidance counselor, dean of student affairs. So a lot of those students had like these relationships with my mom. And so a lot of those older students I knew, not personally, but like I knew their face or I was familiar with them to a certain degree. I thought that's where I knew him from. Apparently not, right? I just knew his face from the school. I just know a lot of those older kids. That was how I was familiar with their name or their faces. Some of them I knew the name. Some of them I just know the face. I thought that's where I was recognizing his face from. When I actually spoke to him, he actually asked me, did I go to this school? I said, yes. He said, I remember your face. I said, I remember your face too. And so when him and I talked, I realized he knew my mom, but my mom never actually taught him or helped him get into school, but he did know her. But it was really just that he went to the same school as me, and that was how I knew his face. His sister, though, his little sister, I think they're like it has to be like a year apart, because I remember she was in the same grade with my sister, my older sister. That sister was in the same grade with my sister, right? He was older. And so this is how I knew his face. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm just trying to give y'all a little backdrop story, because I want you to understand that despite him being like this super strict supervisor, you know how it is when you're targeted, though. It's like things can kind of happen, but you're still having like these regular conversations with the person. I don't even know if it was that or if just him doing his job. You know, one thing I'm not going to do is start accusing supervisors. I do not want to lose this job. One thing I'm not going to do in these videos, get out of my face. You know why I'm acting like that, y'all? They're flying the insect drone in my face. They get so mad when I can break down these narratives and when I make sense and when I'm right in a situation. It's so frustrating when you're right and they know you're right and they're purposely doing whatever just because. Anyway, so anyway, I'm going off on a tangent with this supervisor guy anyway. So nonetheless, he's just very strict. You know, I even had another coworker that was complaining about him. That could have just been, you know, gang stalking, because remember, he knows that these conversations, they all know that these conversations are being recorded and broadcasted live and everybody on Island can see. So anybody that's talking to me about someone else, I'm always questioning the motive and whether or not what you're saying is genuine, obviously. But still, nonetheless, I've had another coworker kind of complaining about him and telling me that his favorite supervisor was this next one, and, you know, talking about how strict this specific supervisor that made me have to go in the office. Sorry, I see somebody driving by. This specific supervisor that I'm telling you I went to school with back in the day is, right? And he was talking about how he's writing up everyone. So I believe it, because he was even, like I said, threatening to write me up. So anyways, the first night I interacted with him, when they put him on the night shift to do supervisor duty, I guess, on the night shift. Remember, I've told you guys this in a prior video. This was a while ago, that there's always a supervisor on shift at night when I'm doing security. Not here at my location. What happens is the supervisor has a vehicle and basically patrols the whole island and goes from the different checkpoints, the different points, not checkpoints, the different points where different security guards are located. So for me, I'm at the main shopping center on island. You know, another location might be on the other end of the island at a grocery store, for example. Just the different locations. The supervisor will go to the different locations, check in, sign the timesheet, whatever, right? There's always a supervisor on at night. So anyways, they decided to put him on at night, put him on the night shift. When they put him on the night shift, that first night when him and I interacted was decent, right? I didn't even realize or have any inclination that he would be the super strict supervisor. I had no clue, right? So him and I talked a little bit in the office, I remember. And we were just talking about basically, you know, him knowing me, recognizing my face. Just very brief, basic ass conversation, y'all. You know, around this time, I was still in communication with the lady for the correction officer job. This was one of those on times where I was actively hearing from her and it seemed like we were moving forward in the process. Remember, I told you it's like been months and months of me going through this hiring process. And one minute I'm hearing from the hiring, the HR, the lady for HR for that job, and it seems like we're moving forward. And then the next minute I'm like kind of in a stalemate where I'm being told like, I don't, kind of just being told like it's like this waiting thing where they're waiting for something, and then I'm not hearing from them. So I'm not too sure. Yeah, I don't want to really make too much of that because the opportunity hasn't been completely closed off yet. So it's not like this thing where I want to just sit here foolishly and say stupid things and then really close that door. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just literally letting you know that I'm not really too sure about what's going on. And, I've actively been calling, trying to keep up, trying to see what's going on, checking in, and just kind of being told that it's like I'm waiting for a background check. And so it's just kind of been like this process since like the end of last year that I've been going through. And so it's just like I'm not really too sure what's going on with that. But nonetheless, him and I kind of started talking about that too, because at this time I was hearing from her actively. And I remember telling him, I don't even remember how that got brought up in the convo. I remember even telling him that I might start working as a corrections officer. And so he started warning me about the jail. And, we're just having regular conversation. We're having conversation. He seemed cool, right? I didn't have any indication that he would be a difficult supervisor. So now I remember one night, this is like maybe a week later after him and I had that initial conversation. I was parked up under the tree in my car. One thing I like to do is park up in my car. I'm fortunate enough to have my mother's vehicle at night. Some people come on shift, they don't have a vehicle, so they sit in the office. That's what it's there for. When you're doing foot patrol and you don't have a vehicle, you sit in the office. That's what it's there for. I have a vehicle, right? So I sit in my car. I prefer that. Well, I thought I did. Now that it's getting hot, I'm actually glad that he gave me that directive to stay in the office because it's so hot. The flies, how they do with the insect drones, like what they're doing now, fly it around to antagonize and harass you. So I actually like sitting in the office in the cool AC. And also so I can keep my phone plugged into the charger. So if he did tell me that as a way of just like trying to punish me, because they were kind of making noise campaigns last night when I was talking about the situation briefly in that last clip. I didn't expound. Remember, I'm doing that now. They were kind of making noise campaigns like they were trying to hint to me that he was doing that to be spiteful. I don't know if that's the case or not. The way he talked about it, he seemed genuine to me. He said it was a directive he got from, I'm not going to say the name of the higher up that works in the main office, but he was basically telling me that was a directive that he got, that I'm supposed to sit in the office and this and that. I'm going to get there in a minute though, y'all. I'm hopping ahead of myself. Hold on a minute, y'all. Give me a second. Because they're literally flying these mosquitoes all around my window. It's ridiculous. And now a police officer pulled up here to the ATM and is looking over at me. I don't understand why. I think it's because I'm making sense. I'm not coming for the police. One thing I'm not doing. Y'all know I don't have an issue with the law enforcement, nor do I have an issue with the government. So no matter how much police vehicles might coincidentally show up at certain moments, it could likely be what I think it is. Remember, they use emergency vehicles in this program. I'm not bearing false witness. The police officer can come out, look over at me, whatever it is. I don't have a problem with law enforcement. I never did. I'm going to continue to say what I'm saying and make sense and articulate what's going on. Anyway, so I forgot what I was saying though. So that second time when he pulled up on me, right? I was parked up underneath the tree because I started going off on a tangent and telling you how much I like sitting in the office now that I got that directive. Right? So I used to sit up underneath the tree, park my car, literally right across from the office. I'll park my car up. I'll sit there underneath the tree and enjoy my night, right? Just watch movies, whatever. Every hour I have an alarm set. So every hour when my alarm goes off, I'll do a patrol. I'll walk on foot. I'll do a little walk, right? And then I'll go back in my car and I'll sit down. I don't even see some of the other guards doing that. Not even to say like that, because I've gotten in problems for doing that before. Where I said something just trying to defend myself, and then it's kind of like, no, it's like you're throwing your coworkers under the bus and then more people are against you. I don't mean it like that. I have seen other guards doing that. There are guards that I see doing foot patrol, definitely. But some guards I've worked with before, I like do a vehicle patrol. I haven't necessarily seen them on foot. Not like necessarily, not like that's a bad thing. It's not like I was complaining or trying to rat them out or anything. But I'm actively, every hour, setting my alarm and going on foot, right? Doing a patrol, and then I go and I sit back down. So if I choose to sit in the office, that's the security booth. That's what it's there for. I don't understand how that could be a problem. This is where I'm stationed at. This is my post. So I have a right to sit in the office. If I didn't have a vehicle, I'm not going to stay outside in the elements. I would go sit in the office. And that's what I see all of the other guards doing. So it was ludicrous to me what happened last night. So anyways, going off on a tangent. So typically I sit in my car though. Like I said, I get my mother's car at night. I'm able to borrow it. And that's typically what I do. I'll go sit under the tree or I'll park up. As long as I'm in the main shopping center area right near the office, I'll sit in my vehicle. So this night in question, I was sitting in my vehicle, parked up under the tree. They sent me some stimuli right about West Virginia. I don't remember what it was about West Virginia. I can't remember, and I wish I could. I wish I had made a video about it. that they were sending me something about West Virginia where I think they were talking about, I think that's what it was. They sent me in my recommended, right, a video talking about West Virginia and how, I guess, downtrodden it is. I'm not saying this. I'm just telling you what the video said, right? Talking about how bad it is or whatever, and I'm hearing them revving by. I'm like, what are they revving by for? And I said, I don't understand what y'all are revving by for. You know how I be responding to the rev campaign like a dummy sometimes? I need to just ignore them. I said, I don't know what the rev is for. I said, you saw that they sent me this video. And I said, what they're saying isn't wrong. I said, I heard from Michael Barden. I said, I know y'all watch me, right? I know y'all saw when Michael Barden was talking about his experience living there. Remember, I always talk about Michael Barden, y'all. I haven't talked about him in a while. But Michael Barden's another target. He's been targeted way longer than I have. He's a former military agent. And he shares a lot of information about this program. That's where I learned a lot of information from. He relocated to West Virginia and bought a house there because the houses are so cheap there due to the circumstances out there. You know, it's like, I think, poverty-stricken, a lot of West Virginia. Maybe there are areas that aren't, but there are a lot of areas out there that are poverty-stricken. You know, that there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And so he was talking about in his video some of the things that happens out there, right? And so I'm just saying that actively kind of supporting what I was seeing, saying that this is fact. I don't know what you all are speeding by for. This is fact. I did hear that West Virginia is like that. I'm saying that, right? And then they start revving by. And so they start doing the noise campaigns. I mean, like what they do. And so I get in a tizzy, right? I'm not cussing or acting crazy, but responding to them stupidly. And I'm hearing noises. I didn't even realize the supervisor had pulled up to the office. Now, where I'm parked, I can see very clearly. I have a very clear view of the office. And I always see when the supervisor pulls up, and I always pull up next to him. I didn't see him pull up. I was so enthralled and engulfed, excuse me, in this conversation that was going on, right? So next thing you know, I just hear a tap on my window like this, right? And look, I see it's that guy, right, that I had that conversation, that friendly conversation with, that I went to school with back in the day. I roll down the window. He lets me know that I need to be in the office. He said, hey, he said, I don't know if you know this, but you need to sit in the office. He said, you're not supposed to be sitting in your car at night. You're supposed to be in that office. He said, you could get in trouble for sitting in your car. He said, this isn't a write-up, but I'm just letting you know you can get in trouble. So I remembered even giving him words about it, not disrespectfully, not arguing with him. Look, they're now gaslighting me and flying the insect in my face. That's to tell you, they know full well that happened too. And they're still gaslighting me last night and doing noise campaign like they don't know that happened. Anyway, so, excuse me. So he's telling me, I lost my train of thought now. He was just basically, I started giving him words about it. Not words in a way like I'm being disrespectful. I'm never going to argue with a supervisor. I don't want to lose my job. But more so telling him, since when? You know, I was just asking him, since when is that a directive? I said, you know, the other supervisors prior to you, because remember, I have been working here for months now, since the end of last year. He's new. He's just getting on board. So you're new coming on board and telling me something that the other supervisors haven't been telling me. So I remember that kind of being like, you know, especially since I thoroughly enjoyed sitting in my car more than being stuffed up in the office. It's now the opposite, where I'm actually glad he gave me that directive, because I like the office now, especially now that it's getting hotter, and I like having my phone plugged into the charger. Anyway, so he gives me that directive, right? And I'm just kind of asking him since when, not in a disrespectful or like I'm questioning his authority, but just letting him know that the other supervisors have come and they know I sit out in the parking lot and it's not been a problem. He starts to tell me, and I know he knows everyone's listening, so it's not a problem me putting this in my video. He said this to me. He said, well, you know, Puerto Rico has been cracking down and the other supervisors haven't really been doing what they're supposed to do. And, you know, he starts kind of going in on the other supervisors. I even had a coworker, one of the ones that kind of goes in on him and says he's mean or whatever. And I'm like, again, questioning that conversation because you know everyone's listening. But still telling me that he complains to him too. That supervisor complains about the other supervisors and how the woman supervisors don't do their jobs and yada yada, etc., whatever he was saying, right? So I just know that this is something that he might have meant. I don't know that he would say that knowing that his other supervisor, co-workers, counterparts can hear what he's saying. So I didn't really understand that. You know how it is with this program where they say real things. Like, remember, there was a video I recorded. Some of y'all might have viewed it and I took it down. That conversation I had with that person in my close circle that was crying and talking about something personal that was really happening in her life, bawling. And in the midst of it, I'm getting gaslit. You know, it's just like, that's how the program works. It's so comprehensive. They will have real life conversations about private things that they wouldn't want other people to hear with you, all for the sake of the program and for the sake of making you feel crazy. Like, it's very comprehensive, y'all. So you're constantly questioning, like, damn, is he really saying this? Like, like it's just constantly that type of thing. So he starts going in on the other supervisors. I'm like, what? You're not talking about how Puerto Rico's cracking down now and how Mr. So-and-so, the name of the person that's in the office, the main head, upper head, right? The main guy that works in the office that runs the whole show, that's above all of everyone else, the main manager, how this is directives from him that I'm not supposed to be sitting, or none of us in our vehicles, we need to stay in the office. This is what he told me. So I said, okay, I didn't bother to argue with him, but I remembered being kind of like irritated and feeling like maybe it's because of this West Virginia thing that was just happening, because they were reffing like crazy about it. So I was like, I wonder if he's doing this to spite me or if this is really a directive. But I didn't argue. I don't want to lose my job. So I remembered he then started talking to me like regular and having regular conversation with me. Like, we talked about so many different things, y'all. He even started telling me about the fact that he used to actually be a police officer in the States. Something happened that led to him relocating to down here. And he can't become a police officer down here because apparently his father was chief of police or some big position in the police force and ended up having like a fallout with his coworkers and suing the whole police department. So at that point, when he started saying that, and I know for a fact he knows that this is being watched. He knows all the police are watching. I'm like, nah, man, this man is gang stalking me. This man is gang stalking me. I said, is there an article I can look up about it? He said, sure. The man told me the article and I looked it up and he's telling the truth. There was really a case with his father in the police department down here. So everything he's saying is true, but he knows all these people are listening. And it's similar to what happens with, some of the people in my close circle. I don't want to mention them and get in problems. But that's how effective the program is. You start to question your sanity with some of the things they do. I'm not trying to go off on a tangent because I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I need to be talking about what happened last night with my coworker. So in another video, I can go into the details about that. But I'm just, explaining to you how this program works and how it can really psychologically, mentally mess with you. I just used it like the same word. Those words, a synonym. I said psychologically, mentally. Same thing. But how it can psychologically mess with you. Anyway, so after we finished talking, him talking to me about all these different things, we even started talking about Trujillo, who was a dictator in Santo Domingo. And I was telling him I taught my students about Trujillo when I was a teacher. Just all this regular stuff we were talking about. He eventually leaves. I go to do my patrol. My alarm went off and it was time for me to do my patrol. And he said on that note, he was going to leave. So I went to do my patrol. Remember, I told you every hour I walk, right? Go back in the office. After that, it was still this kind of way where some nights he's on, some nights he's not. And so I would kind of halfway sit in the office. Like, I wanted to sit in my car. I didn't want to be stuffed up in the office all night. So what I started doing was like half the night I sit in the office, half the night I sit in my car. There was this one night where I was doing that and he came and walked up on me while I was sitting in my car. At that point, I was sitting in my car. He said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This is the third time that I'm seeing you in the car." He said, "This could be a write-up, this and that," like threatening to write me up because I'm sitting in my car. He literally threatened to write me up. So at this point now, I started making it a habit of sitting in the office. In addition to that, I told you guys in another video, there was another motive for it too. I don't want to talk about this now. I really don't want to bring that up now, to make things awkward. I don't want to bring it up. But if you've listened to my prior videos, you will have heard me talk about, remember this maintenance man that started to have like this camaraderie ship with me. And he's more of this gregarious, outgoing person. I'm not, and I'm targeted. And every time him and I converse, they're watching, they're making noises, actively on the edge of their seat trying to rev up for anything. It just makes me feel tense and uncomfortable, man. Really uncomfortable. And so I started to avoid the interaction. And then too, he started to give me stuff. I think that's just the type of person he is. I don't have anything to give back. I don't like taking gifts from people so often. I just started to feel just overwhelmed by the interaction. I've always been socially awkward. I've always been bad at small talk. I have all these people staring at me and judging me and revving by. It just started to be too much for me. So that, in addition to the directive that I was given from the supervisor who threatened to write me up, caused me to start sitting in the office. I started sitting in the office all night long, almost all night long, still not, because I even still throughout the night, I come to my car for a little bit, but more than that, I was in the office, right? Did not know that was a problem for one of my coworkers. I don't know why it would be, but apparently it was a problem, right? I don't even think that's really what the issue is. I think there's like some underlying thing, because I did notice for the longest while, right? There was another coworker that I talked about that used to work here with me. And I was telling you, I don't see him anymore. I don't know if he doesn't work for the company anymore, or if it's just like they don't have him working with me anymore. I'm not sure. But it used to be this thing where he would have these like conversations with me and they would be full of innuendo. And I could tell that he had a problem with me. You know, it seemed like this personal thing that he had with me. I don't know what it was. It was strange. I couldn't really explain it. But eventually things kind of got cool. It was this kind of way where like this fake nice he started being to me. But nonetheless, it was still nice. You know, even if it was fake nice. You know, I'm good at reading people. I can read him. I don't think he's a bad person. I told you guys I'm very intuitive and I can read people. I don't think he's a bad person, but I think something I must have said must have rubbed him the wrong way, offended him, struck a nerve. I don't know what it was. But he had like a personal thing with me, right? And so it was just this kind of way where I would just try to stay out of problems with him. You know, I had documented some of the incidents I had with him. I think I've deleted most of those videos, but I documented some of the incidents I had with him, and things started to kind of get cool. He started trying to be nice to me. He really did. And then, you know, towards the end where things actually started getting better, I just noticed he wasn't here anymore. You know, he even let me drive the vehicle one night for him because he knew I like to do vehicle patrol. So anyways, now there's this other security guard that I usually work with on more nights than not. Remember I told you I was working 6 nights out of the week, and I told you in the last clip they took a night off my schedule, unfortunately. Every night I work with this security guard, this one that I worked with last night that I had the words with the exception of 3 nights. The night they took off my schedule, that I was doing vehicle patrol, and 2 nights that I have on the weekend, I'm working with someone else. But every other night I'm working with this guard that I worked with last night. Never had anything personal with him like that, like the other one that I was just talking about, where he was literally like going out of his way to have these conversations with me that were full of innuendo and doing these different things. That's not the case with this one. This one kind of stays to himself. I stay to myself. Say goodnight, that's it. When I first started working with him, I had no problem going in the office with him. You know, I would say goodnight to him. He'd say goodnight. I sign in, go about my business. That's how I am. I no long talk. I don't stay and linger, especially not as a target. Even prior to my targeting, I told you guys I'm antisocial. Like, not antisocial, wrong word. Kinda. But I'm socially awkward and socially inept, and I have social anxiety, and I learned how to deal with it over the years. But if I don't know you like that, it's not like I'm sitting there trying to have small talk. I'm not even good at small talk. I can have deep, in-depth conversations with somebody I'm comfortable with. But like these little small talk conversations with people that are strangers, not to sound bad, everybody's different. There are people that are introverted that do not like small talk. I'm one of those people. I'm not good at small talk. I've learned how to do it over the years. I'm not good at it. And now that I'm targeted, I really do not like small talk, right? Because they're all staring and revving by and it's just horrible. So him and I, you know, we never had no small talk, and he doesn't really seem like the type that's doing that either. Maybe with the people he knows, not with me, right? And I didn't have a problem with that. I noticed, like, remember I told you I'm very intuitive. I started getting a vibe that he low-key might have not necessarily cared for me. Like, it's not even like this thing where we have to be friends. Trust me, that's not a problem. We don't have to be. But I started getting a vibe like low-key there might have been a thing, right? Like I noticed sometimes, for instance, and I couldn't prove it, so that's why I never talked about it in a video, because I learned my lesson about bearing false witness. I noticed sometimes, like, I'll be sitting out there. This was before things got really weird between him and I, when I used to still go in the office and say goodnight. I know sometimes, like, I'll be sitting, this was before I had gotten internet on my phone. I'll be sitting in the internet spot, and something will play on my phone, you know, something to sensitize me or something that caused revving or whatever. And I notice him pulling up just then and walking by. Now, remember, he has to do his rounds. He's vehicle patrol. So every hour, he has to do his rounds, or every 2 hours. Now it's every hour. Before, it used to be every 2 hours. He does have to do his rounds, right? Understand that's how gang stalking works sometimes. I told you they use workers sometimes to gang stalk you. Like, sometimes they'll really be doing a job, but low-key gang stalking you too, and you can't prove it. So just, I noticed sometimes when certain things would play, he would conveniently be walking by just then. You know, so I kind of noticed that, but it's like I couldn't prove it, and I know he has to do his rounds, and I don't want to make problems with coworkers. It wasn't overt enough, like what that other coworker used to do, where he was having these, like, obvious conversations with me and forcing his way to have conversations with me full of innuendo and doing all this extra stuff, you know, before things got kind of cool with him and I. It wasn't that obvious, so it's not something I was going to sit and make a video about and try to create problems, you know? But I did notice it. I did notice that. Right? So I just played it off and didn't, you know, whatever. You're not telling me nothing. Okay, that's happening. I don't care. You know, I'm dealing with so much more. I don't care about that. Then I noticed one night, right? I thought the thought, I need to go in the office and microwave something. Remember, they're hearing my thoughts at live, like actively hearing my thoughts. So anywhere I think that I'm going, they know that I'm going there. I remember thinking in my head, I need to go in the office and microwave something. Never ever had seen this guy do this before. I go in the office as soon as I open the door, right? It's almost like he was waiting for me to open the door. I noticed him take the glove and pick up something and act like he's cleaning it. It was just like this kind of way he did it. I can't really explain it. It looked almost like it was staged. Like as soon as I went in, that's when he acted like he was picking up the glove and wiping the desk where I had touched and, just doing this extra stuff, right? He never did that before. I never saw him do that before. All of a sudden, I think that I need to go microwave something. I see him do that. And I had just recently made a video then too. I didn't say anything offensive. So I don't know if, something that I said bothered him or what the case was. But I don't recall saying anything offensive. But you know me, sometimes I say stuff that I don't think is offensive that is offensive to some people. He likely might have been just offended with me in general because I heard his accent. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the nationality of the cyber stalking guy and the guy from high school. And, I remember I said that ignorant comment about that nationality out of anger years ago. So that could be where the tiff is. I don't really know. Like I have a bunch of people that don't like me and I don't even really know them like that or know why they don't like me. And then there are people that just choose not to get involved, right? That are objective in the situation. I just react to things that are happening. That's it, right? I just react to what's happening. I react and I say things sometimes out of my mouth that's offensive and I might not mean it. Out of anger. It's reactive abuse. Remember I told you y'all what was happening with that cyberbullying guy back then and what led to me saying some of the offensive, stupid shit I said. Anyway, whatever. So I think that created something. So I noticed after that, I made a video about that little interaction in the office and I chose to delete it because I didn't want problems. But after that things just got really weird after that. And so it just eventually got to the point where I just stopped going in the office. Like whenever I would come on and he would be in the office, I wouldn't go in the office. I just wait till he leaves and then I get my key, go about my business. So last night now what I noticed was I get on shift and he was in the office, right? I noticed he was in the office. And typically when he's in the office, I just sit in my car and I'll wait for him to leave the office. And then I'll, like I said, go in and get my key. So it wouldn't be awkward. Because I did notice there was a time when I said goodnight and he didn't even answer. And so to avoid the awkwardness, like I'm the kind of person, like I don't like to just go in a room. I grew up on an island. That's how we are. Even if I don't necessarily like a person or things are weird, I still say goodnight. That's just how I am. And so for me, it's always weird to just walk by somebody and not say goodnight. So rather than have that awkward interaction, I'd rather just avoid it altogether, right? So I would just sit in my car, let him sign in and stuff, go about his business, and I go in the office, get my key. Last night, do the same thing that I've been doing, right? I just sat in the car, waited for him to leave the office, drive off, went to get my key. I go to get the key, I notice the door is locked. So I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even accuse. I didn't automatically think, he did that on purpose. Like, I didn't think that. I actually thought he probably thought I grabbed my key and didn't realize I hadn't grabbed it. And so I said, they already started revving by when they noticed the office was locked. I said, why are y'all revving by? I said, I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose. I actually said that. I said, I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose. I said, let me just go get the key. So I pull up next to him and I ask him for his key. And that's when he kind of like talked down to me. And this is what created the situation. He said, you're not going to sit on that in that office all night tonight. This is what he said to me. He said, you're not going to sit in that office all night tonight. So now I pop back. I'm like, wait a minute. Who are you talking to like that? Because it's almost like condescending the way he said it. It was almost like a parent or a supervisor talking to me and reprimanding me. So first of all, I know I was given directives from the supervisor to sit in the office. That's first of all. But second of all, it's like you didn't even approach me in a respectful manner. You and I are equals. We're both on the same level. We're both doing the same job. Talk to me with respect, and then I'll listen to you and respond with respect. So it's just this kind of way, like, you're not going to sit in the office all night. So I said, huh? I got taken aback because I didn't even expect that response. I said, what do you mean I'm not going to sit in the office all night? He said, you sitting in the office all night? You need to be out here with me. He said, you need to be out here working too. And I said, what do you mean working too? I said, I am working. I said, I sit in the office and then every hour I do patrol. I said, I was told by the supervisor that I need to sit in the office at night or I can get written up. And he said, well, I'm calling so-and-so tomorrow, talking about the higher up. The same higher up that the supervisor told me he got the directive from. He said, well, I'm calling so-and-so tomorrow. I said, what? I said, well, go ahead and call him. I said, I'm calling him too. I said, I'm following directions. I said, I was given a directive and I gave him the name of the supervisor that gave me the directive. Mind you, I'm almost certain he knows because it was all 3 nights where the guy threatened to write me up were nights when I was working with him. And everybody is watching me. I'm telling you. So I'm like, I know he knows that the supervisor told me to be in the office and that I could get written up. So I'm like, what is this tonight? I didn't even do anything offensive to create this. It's not like I recently created an offensive video. Not at all. So I'm like, what the heck? I was completely taken aback. So I said, well, you call him and I'm going to call him too. I said, I was given a directive to stay in this office at night or I could get written up, and I'm not getting written up for anybody. And he said, well, I'm not going to be the only one out here working. So I said, what do you mean the only one working? I said, I'm in the office on post. I said, I walk and I patrol every hour. I have an alarm set for every hour. And then I sit in the office. Mind you, I'm foot patrol. He's vehicle patrol. So he has the vehicle to sit in. I'm fortunate that my mother lends me the car at night. That's why I have a vehicle to sit in. Had I been coming here without a vehicle, there's no way you were going to tell me that I need to stand outside in the elements and be outside. That doesn't make sense. So I'm like, no, I'm going to stay on post in the office and then I'm going to do patrol every hour. So I called the supervisor that was on last night and I explained the situation to him. And he said, well, I never heard that directive from so-and-so, talking about what the other supervisor told me. He said, well, I never heard that directive from so-and-so. And he said, so you know what, to avoid problems, I'm not going to tell you to sit in the office all night, but just go back and forth and this and that. I said, well, I do anyway. I do patrol every hour. It's not like I'm sitting on my ass in the hour. I could see if this were the argument. If I were arguing with him about being able to sit in the office all night and not do patrol, then I could see him saying something. But every hour I'm coming out and walking. So what do you mean? I am doing my job. So even if I hadn't been given that directive, which I was, and I'm going to call I almost said the name of the higher up. I'm going to call the higher up and have a conversation too today. Because I would like to see if that supervisor just gave me that directive to be spiteful or if that's truly a directive. I definitely would like to call now. But my thing is, even if I hadn't been given that directive, that's what the office is there for. It's for foot patrol. And even for you, if you want to sit in the office when you're not patrolling. That's what it's there for. When you're on post, the security booth is there for you to sit in. Then you do your patrolling, then you go back in the booth. So for me, I almost want to recommend or suggest that they let me do vehicle patrol and let him have foot patrol because I actually want that. I keep telling y'all in these videos I'd rather do foot patrol. I'm not going to complain. I want to do foot patrol. Let me do the work if you feel like it's too much. Let me do it because I actually like vehicle patrol. I hate doing foot patrol. I'm bored. I'm so bored. I love vehicle patrol. If they would give me it every night, I would be ecstatic to come to work. Let me do it. So anyways, that's how I just had to talk about it. I couldn't believe what happened. And he even went on the phone and before I could even call the supervisor, went and called the supervisor to, rat on me like I'm telling him lies or something. And I know he knows because they're all watching I almost said the name of the supervisor, that supervisor told me to sit in the office. So I'm like, what is this? That's happening here tonight. So I was like, I made a mental note that obviously I need to talk to the higher up and ask him what's going on because I need to report what happened here tonight. I don't want problems. But also too, I need to find out if that supervisor just told me that directive to be spiteful. Now I really am curious to know, right? And they were also making a noise campaign last night when I kind of was thinking the thought in my head, I wonder if he told me that to be spiteful, the birds were going off. So I do wonder, right? But even again, if what he said was to be spiteful, or even if I hadn't been given that directive, that is what the office is for us to sit in. I'm supposed to do patrol and then sit in there. If I didn't have a vehicle, that's where I would be sitting. So that argument didn't make sense to me. If I'm arguing with you about sitting in there and I don't want to walk and do patrol, then tell me I'm not doing my job. Then tell me you're the only one working. So that was crazy to me. I had to document it here in this video. But then also too, like I said, I will be obviously calling. I guess I'll keep you guys updated on what happens with that. So anyways, y'all, that's it. My phone is on 2%, as you guys can see. I gotta go. So I will talk to you guys in the next one. I just had to document that, man. I didn't even expect that to be a part of this video. That whole interaction threw me for a loop. They were even quiet, the gang stalkers, because they know that they were revving when that supervisor was giving me the directive to be in the office or he's gonna write me up. They were revving by. They were quiet last night when the argument was happening. And then after the fact, it's like they remembered, oh yeah, we're supposed to be against her. When I'm making the video, they start revving up then. Anyways, I'll talk to you on the next one, man. Peace out. My phone's about to die. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out.